Do 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 do. Good evening, wonderful people. Welcome back to tonight's episode of Our Journey to Dreamland. This evening, we are going to embark on a journey with many stories that will keep us company while we reach the dreamland. So grab your blankies and get ready for our journey. Without further ado, let's hear our first story of the evening. And it's called
Ghost and the Bee-Mazing Adventure. In the sunny town of Bumbleville, a little girl named Ghost, Triskel, Arf, and Greg set out on what they hoped would be an ordinary day. Little did they know, their day was about to get brilliantly silly. It all started when Ghost, playing near her favorite flower garden, discovered that the bee's home, an old beehive, was hanging dangerously from a tree branch. Concerned for her buzzing friends, she rushed to find her crew.
Triskel, Arf, Greg, we need to save the beehive. It's about to fall.
Triskel, always ready to help, put on her brightest smile. Let's do it, team. We'll save the bees and their hive. Arf, ever the joker, chimed in with a grin.
Why did the bee go to the doctor? Because it had honeycombs.
He laughed heartily, while Greg, who had been struggling to tie his shoes, finally looked up with a determined expression.
Let's save that beehive.
But as he tried to run, he tripped over his own shoelaces and tumbled into a nearby brush. Brunch. The brush shook, and out flew a confused squirrel wearing a tiny hat. With Arf and Triskel's help, they managed to reach the base of the tree. Triskel held on to the ladder, while Ghost, Arf, and Greg carefully climbed up to the beehive. Ghost and Arf carefully worked together to secure the beehive with a rope. Meanwhile, Greg, trying to help, accidentally swung his arms too wide and knocked a nearby branch, causing a few bees to get very annoyed.
Oopsie daisy.
Greg squeaked as the bees buzzed around him like a tiny, angry tornado. Arf, trying to be helpful, put on a funny bee costume he had in his bag for just such an occasion.
Hey, bees, I'm one of you.
He said, dancing a silly jig. The bees, however, did not seem impressed by his dance moves. As Ghost and Arf secured the beehive, Greg and Triskel tried to calm the bees. Triskel offered them a bit of honey from her lunch as a peace offering, but in the chaos, Greg accidentally knocked over the jar, sending honey splattering everywhere. In the midst of the commotion, Ghost, trying to shoo the bees away, gently got accidentally bumped into Greg, who had just tripped again. The bees, now very agitated, decided to show their discontent with a few stings, though not too many.
Oh, this is not going as planned,
she said, rubbing her arm where a bee had given her a tiny poke.
I think I'm officially the clumsiest beekeeper ever.
He lamented, scratching his head with a sticky honey hand. Tiny. Despite the little stings and sticky mess, they managed to get the beehive back in place and secure. The bees, realizing their home was safe, buzzed happily around their restored hive. As the sun began to set, the group sat down, exhausted but relieved. Ghost, Triskel, Arf, and Greg looked at each other and burst into laughter. Their clothes were covered in honey, and Arf's bee costume was askew, but they were happy. We did it. The bees are safe, and we're still in one piece. Well, mostly. Arf, wiping honey from his cheek, joked.
Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use honeycombs.
His joke made everyone laugh even harder.
Even though it was a bit of a sticky situation, I'm glad we helped the bees,
she said, smiling. Greg, still giggling, added,
And at least we made some new friends, with a few extra stings.
As they walked home under the evening sky, their hearts were full and their spirits were high. The bees buzzed contentedly in their hive, and Ghost, Triskel, Arf, and Greg felt proud of their silly, sticky adventure. And so, despite the beehive blunders and honey-covered hijinks, the friends ended their day happily, knowing they had done something wonderful for their buzzing buddies. And that, dear reader, is the tale of Ghost and her bee-mazing adventure. A story of friendship, laughter, and a little bit of honey.
Yay! We're done!
The next story we're going to listen to is called
Skateboarding Rebel. ride or slide.
In the not-so-sleepy town of Grindstone, there was a group of teenagers known for their edge, attitude, and constant search for the next big thrill. Wisteria, with her purple hair and a tendency to challenge anything and everything, was the leader of this crew. Then there was Homie, the laid-back guy who was always down for a good time, as long as it didn't involve too much effort. And lastly, Ghost, the quiet but daring one, always lurking in the background until it was time to make a bold move.
One day, as they wandered aimlessly through the town, trying to figure out what to do next, they stumbled upon something that would change their lives forever. A group of skaters tearing it up at the local skate park. "Check it out," Wisteria said, her eyes lifting up with interest. "Those dudes are flipping and flying like it's nothing. We should totally try that."
Homie, who was leaning against a wall, munching on a bag of chips, raised an eyebrow. "Skateboarding? Sounds like a lot of work, but I guess it looks kinda cool."
Ghost, who had been silently observing, nodded. "I'm in, but where do we even start?"
Without missing a beat, Wisteria marched over to the skaters, her edgy attitude on full display. Hey! Oh!
Hey! Teach us how to do that, or we'll show you how it's done.
The skaters, a little taken aback by her boldness, shrugged and handed over a couple of extra boards. "Knock yourselves out, but don't say we didn't warn you. It's harder than it looks."
Wisteria grabbed a board and hopped on, wobbling as she tried to find her balance. "How hard can it be?" she muttered, just before the board shot out from under her and sent her tumbling to the ground.
Homie laughed, nearly choking on his
Hardy
chips. Hardy har har. Yeah, that looked super easy.
Ghost, however, was already studying the moves of the others. She stepped onto her board with surprising ease, her natural balance kicking in. "You just have to feel it," she said, gliding forward and surprising herself with how smoothly she moved.
Wisteria, undeterred, got back up and tried again.
"Okay, fine. So it's Tricky. But Tricky is my middle name."
The trio spent the rest of the afternoon practicing, falling, and getting back up. Homie, despite his initial laziness, found himself getting more into it as he started to nail a few basic tricks. "This is actually kinda awesome," he admitted, grinning as he rolled down a small ramp.
Ghost was a natural, quickly picking up the tricks that took others weeks to learn. "I didn't think I loved this so much," she said, pulling off a clean ollie. "It's like flying but on the ground."
Wisteria, after several failed attempts, finally landed a shaky kickflip.
"Yes! I knew I could do it!"
She's-
shouted, her voice echoing across the skate park. "We're totally making this our thing."
As the sun began to set, the three friends sat on their boards, looking out over the town with a newfound sense of pride and excitement.
"Skateboarding is more than just riding a board," Wisteria said, her voice full of determination. "It's about pushing limits, breaking rules, and not caring what anyone else thinks."
Homie nodded, munching on the last of his chips. "And it's pretty good workout too. Who knew?"
Hardy har har. Ghost, with a rare smile on her face, added, "It's about being brave enough to try something new, even if you fall a few times."
And with that, the trio knew they had discovered something special. A new way to express their edgy personalities and take on the world, one trick at a time.
From that day on, Wisteria, Homie, and Ghost were no longer just a group of edgy teens. They were skaters, rebels on wheels, ready to take on anything life threw them.
Are you ready for the next story? Because this one is called
The Curious Case of Chonky Homie. One bright and breezy day, Maxie, Kokoro, Ghost, and Homie were out exploring the mysterious forest near the village. The air was filled with the scent of pine, and the sound of birds chirping echoed through the trees. They were on a quest to find a rare herb for a new potion Maxie was working on.
Homie, as always, was lagging behind, distracted by every shiny pebble and interesting bug. Guys, check this out. He called off for the third time, holding up a particularly large acorn.
Ghost, the ever alert adventurer, laughed. Come on, homie. We got a mission here. Focus.
Kokoro, their gentle-hearted friend, floated just above the ground, her wings shimmering in the sunlight. Don't worry, Ghost. Homie's just being himself. We'll get there eventually.
Maxie, the brilliant tinkerer, was busy jotting down notes in his sketchbook. I just hope we don't run into any magical mishaps today. We've got enough on our plate already.
But as fate would have it, that's exactly what happened. As the group continued their journey, they stumbled upon a strange glowing flower in a small clearing.
Ooh, shiny! Homie exclaimed, rushing over to inspect it. Before anyone could stop him, he picked the flower and gave it a sniff.
In an instant, a cloud of sparkling dust enveloped Homie. With a loud poof, he was gone. In his place sat a chonky, fluffy orange cat with wide, bewildered eyes.
Maxie dropped his sketchbook. Homie?
The chunky cat blinked up at them, and then, to their shark, spoke in Homie's deep voice. What just happened? Why do I feel so small?
Ghost couldn't help but burst into laughter. Homie, you're a cat, and not just any cat, a chonky cat.
Kokoro floated down to Homie's new level, trying to suppress her giggle. Oh no, Homie! We need to figure out how to turn you back before you cause too much trouble.
Homie, now realizing his predicament, looked down at his tiny furry paws. I'm a cat? This is so weird. But hey, at least I'm still pretty cute, right?
Maxie sighed, already flipping through his notes. Alright, team, we need to find a way to reverse the spell. Let's retrace our steps and find out what kind of magic we're dealing with.
As they made their way back through the forest, Homie, now fully embracing his new cat form, could not resist getting into a bit of mischief. He darted after butterflies, climbed up trees, and even chased his own tail. The group's process slowed considerably as they constantly had to rescue him from getting stuck in bushes or tangled in vines.
At one
Sounds like
point,
a pretty cute cat.
at one point, Homie found a patch of mud and decided to roll around in it, covering his fluffy orange fur in dirt.
Homie, we need you to clean if you're going to figure this out. Ghost scolded, trying to wipe the mud off with a leaf.
Sorry, it just looks so fun. Homie purred, his chubby body shaking with excitement.
Kokoro couldn't stop laughing. I think Homie's enjoying this a bit too much.
Finally, after what felt like hours, they had turned to the clearing where it all started. Maxie examined the glowing flower that had caused the transformation.
This flower must be enchanted, Maxie mused. If we can reverse the effects, Homie should turn back to normal.
Kokoro, her magical instincts kicking in, began to sprinkle some of her own fairy dust over the flower. Let's try combining this magic with mine. Maybe that'll do the trick.
As the fairy dust mixed with the glowing pollen, the flower began to shimmer even more brightly. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the flower and enveloped Homie.
With another loud poof, Homie was back to his usual troll self. Mud covered, but definitely not a cat anymore.
Whoa, I'm back! Homie cheered, looking down at his large, jolly belly. That was crazy, but kind of fun too.
Ghost grinned, wiping the last bit of mud off Homie's face. Glad to have you back, buddy. But next time, I think twice before sniffing mysterious flowers.
Maxi closed his sketchbook with a smile. Another successful adventure team, and who knows, maybe we'll figure out how a way to use that cat spell on purpose next time. It could come in handy.
Okro fluttered up, her wings sparkling in the sunlight. Let's just make sure Homie doesn't get too distracted by shiny things from now on.
Homie laughed his hearty laugh, still a bit dazed from the whole experience. Hearty ha ha. No promises, guys, but I'm glad to be back in my troll-tastic form.
And with that, the group continued their adventure, knowing that we're with friends like these. Even the craziest magical mishap could be overcome with a little laughter and a lot of teamwork.
The end.
The end.
Yay!
Our next story is called
The Great Caveman Picnic Adventure. An ancient prehistoric world with towering trees, large rocks, and a cozy cave where a group of cavemen and cavewomen are trying to decide what to have for their super-duper picnic today. Scene 1, The Cave. The scene opens with a group of cavemen and cavewomen sitting around a large stone table inside a dimly lit cave. Outside, the sun is shining brightly and birds are chirping. Chirp, chirp. The characters are in a playful debate about what to eat for their big picnic.
Hardy har har! We've got the biggest picnic to plan today! And I say we start with a whole mammoth steak.
No! We need something louder! Like crackling fire to roast that steak! And berries! Lots and lots of berries!
Bugs and berries? But what if we find something even better? Something that speaks to the wisdom of the ancient ones.
Splash, splash! What if we dive into the river and catch some fish? Silly little fishes for big old bellies.
If we consider the caloric intake and the nutritional value, fish might be a suitable option, dude. However, we must also account the potential difficulty capturing them.
Maxie, you're so thoughtful. But what if we make something that brings everyone together? Like a big stew with a little bit of everything we love.
You know, I'm all about that double down. Why not just stack everything together? Mammoth, fish, berries, bugs. Double down on it all.
Scene 2, The Great Gathering. The group heads out of the cave, moving towards the open field where they plan to have their picnic. Along the way, they discuss and debate what to include in their meal.
Hardy har har! Dale might be onto something. A double down with everything? That'd be a feast for the ages.
I'll gather the loudest berries I can find, and I'll make the fire crackle so loud you'll hear it all the way back in the cave.
All find the perfect herbs and roots to add to the stew. The ancient ones would be proud.
I'll splash around and catch those fish. We're gonna have a silly, splashy, fishy time.
We must ensure the right balance of the flavor and textures. This picnic could be legendary if we do it correctly.
I'll help everyone. I want this picnic to be as wonderful as our friendship.
Let's double down, snack it all out, and enjoy the day, guys.
Scene 3, The Epic Feast. As the sun begins to set, the group gathers around a large flat rock that serves as their picnic table. They've managed to create a massive, delicious spread with all their favorite foods stacked together.
Hardy har har! This is the best picnic ever! We should do this every day!
I love how loud the fire was while cooking. Perfect for screeching. Good time.
This stew is a true masterpiece, a blend of the old and new, just like us.
Splash, splash. The fishes are so yummy. This picnic was silly fun.
The flavors are indeed well balanced. A successful venture, I must say.
I'm so happy everyone is enjoying this meal. It's the love we put into it that makes it special.
Yeah, man. Double down on everything. That's the way to go.
Scene 4 The Sunset. The group sits around the rock, bellies full and smiles wide, watching the sun set over the horizon. They reflect on the day and the bond that they share.
Oh, hardy har. I think it's time for a nap.
Yeah! A nap after a long day is just what I need!
Rest is wise after such a grand feast.
Splash. Time for a dreamy swim.
A well-deserved rest after a well-planned meal.
Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams.
Double down on sleep now too.
The screen fades to black as the cavemen and cavewomen drift off to sleep, their hearts and bellies full, ready for whatever new adventure tomorrow brings. The end.
Yay!
Woo!
We're halfway there, and we'll keep going with a story called The Great Dancing Bread Caper.
In a land where logic took a vacation and silliness reigned supreme, there lived a rather unusual trio. A quirky ghost named Ghost, a forgetful fellow named Greg, and Wisteria, the most polite and kind-hearted cheetah you'd ever meet.
One day, Ghost, who was always up for a good prank, floated into Greg's kitchen. Greg was in the middle of making a sandwich, but as usual, he'd forgotten something important. Where did I put the bread again? Greg wondered aloud, staring at the slice of cheese he'd stuck on the counter.
Ghost, seeing an opportunity for some fun, decided to help in her own ghostly way. She made the loaf of bread float in the air and dance around the kitchen.
Greg, oblivious to the floating bread, scratched his head. I could have sworn I just had it.
Wisteria, who had been watching the whole scene unfold from the doorway, couldn't help but giggle. Dear Greg, dear, the bread is doing the cha-cha. Behind you.
Greg spun around, saw the bread shimmying through the air, and gasped, "Well, that's new. I didn't know bread could dance." He grabbed a slice mid-twirled and slapped it onto his sandwich, completely unfazed.
Satisfied with her prank, Ghost floated over Wisteria. What should we do next? Wisteria, always one to keep things on the polite side, as if, suggested, why don't we help Greg find his keys? He's been looking for them all morning.
That's a good idea, Ghost agreed. She floated up and saw the keys perched on top of Greg's head, where they'd been all along.
Instead of simply pointing it out, Ghost had another idea. She made the keys jingle and dance like tiny maracas.
Greg, hearing the jingling, looked around. Now, where's that sound coming from?
Greg, sweetie, Wisteria said, trying to hold back her laughter. I think your keys are trying to start a conga line.
Greg finally noticed the keys on his head and chuckled. Ah, there you are. Why didn't you say something? He then proceeded to start a conga line all by himself, keys in hand, parading around the house.
Ooh. Ghost and Wisteria joined in. Ghost doing her best floaty conga moves, and Wisteria prancing elegantly behind them.
As the trio danced their way into the living room, Greg suddenly stopped. Wait! I was making a sandwich!
Ghost and Wisteria bursted out laughing as Greg rushed back to the kitchen, only to find that he had in fact put the sandwich together using the cheese slice he'd stuck to the counter earlier. It was, to say the least, a very creative sandwich.
Well, Greg said with a shrug, I've made Weezer meals.
That night, as they all settled down for bed, Ghost floated over to Greg's room. So what did we learn today?
Greg thought for a moment. That dancing braid makes everything better?
And that your keys like to conga, Wisteria added with a yawn, curling up at the foot of Greg's bed.
Ghost giggled. I say that life is a lot more fun when you let a little silliness in.
And with that, they all drifted off to sleep, dreaming of dancing bread, conga lines, and the silliest adventures yet to come.
And so ends the tale of Ghost, Greg, and Wisteria, the silliest trio in the land.
And the story of the great dancing bread keeper. The end.
We'll continue this journey with a story called
The Leather Mitten, read by Soup and Greg, or Skinnvotten by Prøysen. Once upon a time, there was an old man who was walking his dog through the forest on a winter's day. Then he lost one of his mittens.
In the afternoon, a little mouse came darting. It slipped into the mitten and squeaked. Squeak! This will be my house tonight.
A little while later, a frog stood outside and asked, Who lives in this mitten here? Tiny mouse, silky hair, and who are you? I am Frog Longlegs. Can I live with you? Yes, just come in.
As the sun was setting, a little hare came hopping. It stopped in front of the mitten and asked, Who lives in this mitten here? Tiny mouse, silky hair, and the frog long legs. And who are you? Ooh, I am Hare Harry Hop. May I be allowed to live with you? Sure, just come in.
Now there were 3 people living in the mitten, and it was getting quite hot. Towards the evening, a fox came. It stopped at the door and asked, Who lives in this mitten? Tiny mouse, silky hair, frog, long legs, and Hare Harry Hop. Who are you? I am Fox Whitetail. Can I live with you? Sure, just come in.
Now, there were 4 in the mittens, looking out into the forest and the snowy weather.
Suddenly, a wolf came running and stopped at the mitten. Who lives here? Tiny mouse, silky hair, frog, long legs, hairy hair, hop, and fox, whitetail. But who are you? I am the wolf, always hungry. Let me stay with you. Har, 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 har. Sure, just come in.
The wolf slipped into the mitten, and now there were 5 of them there.
After a while, a wild boar came by and stopped and asked, Who lives in this mitten? Tiny mouse, silky hair, frog, long legs, hare, hairy, hop, fox, whitetail, and a wolf never hungry. But who are you? I am the boar Oinky Stinky, and can I also live in the mitten? If you're not too big, then. Oh, no. I will make myself as small as I can. Just come in.
Now, there were 6 in the mitten, and now it's very, very tight. They could hardly move.
Then a twig snapped, and a bear came by, pawing. Who lives in this mitten here? Asked the bear. Tiny mouse, silky hair, frog, long legs, hairy hair, hop, fox, whitetail, the wolf never hungry, and boar Oinky Stinky. And who you are? I am Big Bear Babbles. Can I live with you? We can't just let you in. We have no room. Oh yes, pull yourselves together and we'll be fine. Yes, but then you must not make yourself so broad.
Then the bear crawled into the mitten. It was cracking at all the seams because now there were 7 people living there. Meanwhile, the man noticed that he had lost his mitten. He and the dog turned and went back to look for it. The dog ran ahead, and then it saw something moving in the snow, just as if it were alive. Then the dog began to bark. And all the animals jumped out of the mitten and disappeared into the forest. Afterwards, the old man came and put on the mitten. He couldn't fathom that it was so good and warm when it had been in the snow for so long. Thus ending the story of the leather mitten. Yay, we did it, Sue! We're almost reached the end of our journey. But first, we're going to listen to a story called
The Mystery of the Sneezing Cheese.
In a little village nestled between rolling hills and sparkling water, Ghost, Wisteria, and Homie were the best of friends. One sunny afternoon, the 3 of them were enjoying a picnic under a big oak tree. Suddenly, Wisteria let out a massive sneeze, startling a few birds from the tree.
Bless you, Wisteria, said Ghost, her kind heart always quick to offer comfort.
Oh, thanks, Ghosty, Wisteria replied, rubbing her nose aggressively. I don't know what's gotten into me today. I can't stop sneezing.
Maybe it's the flowers, Homie suggested, his jolly laugh ringing out, hardy har har. Or maybe it's the tree's fault. Maybe it's cursed. Hardy har har.
Ghost giggled at Homie's antics, but looked at Wisteria with concern. We have to figure out what's causing this. It's not fair for you to sneeze all day.
Wisteria sneezed again, this time so forcefully that her hat flew off her head.
I just don't know, she exclaimed, her attitude still strong despite her gentle nature.
Homie scratched his head, thinking hard. Well, if it's not the flowers of the tree, what could it be? Let's investigate.
The trio began searching around the picnic area. Ghost examined the flowers, careful not to disturb them too much. Homie checked the tree, tapping it lightly and then brushing into another.
Hardy har har har.
And he found nothing. Wisteria, still sneezing, tried to help, but couldn't stop long enough to concentrate.
Finally, Ghost had an idea. Wisteria, what did you have for lunch? Maybe it's something you ate.
Wisteria thought for a moment. I had some of that new cheese from the market, you know.
Cheese? Homie's eyes widened. The cheese of eternal sneezes. Hardy har har.
Ghost gasped. The legend is true. Wisteria blinked. Wait, what? Cheese of eternal sneezes?
Homie continued with dramatic flair. A cheese so powerful it can make anyone who eats it sneeze for a whole day. Hardy har har.
Ghost and Wisteria stared at Homie, waiting for him to admit he was joking. But Homie just kept grinning.
Finally, Ghost burst out laughing. You made that up, didn't you, Homie? Hardy har har. Maybe, but it worked, didn't it? He chuckled. Got you all to stop worrying for a second.
Wisteria chuckled despite her sneezes. Okay, so maybe it's not a legendary cheese. But I guess it could be a reaction to it.
Ghost nodded. Let's head back to the village to get you some herbal tea. That should help soothe your sneezes. Find herbal, whatever.
Fancy. The three friends packed up their picnic and headed back. Homie, still chuckling to himself, as always, he letting out a hearty har har. Mysterious sneezes gradually eased up with the help of some tea. That's what I needed. And by the time the sun was setting, he was feeling much better. Thanks, you two, Wisteria said with a smile. I knew I could count on you.
Anytime, Ghost replied with a grin. And remember, Homie added with a wink.
Oh my
Beware
God.
Beware the cheese of eternal sneezes. Hardy har har.
And with that, the three friends shared a laugh as they walked home, ready for whatever silly adventure awaited them next. The end.
That story we're going to read next is called
The Rapscallions versus Homie the Hangry. In the swirling mist of the high seas, aboard the creaky old ship known as the Sea Serpent, two notorious Rapscallions plotted their next daring move. Ghost, a fiery young pirate apprentice with a knack for mischief, and Captain Arf, a seasoned pirate with a cunning mind and a twinkle in his eye, were not alone in their schemes. Their cat, Nilly, a sleek and clever feline with a sharp wit, was always by their side, ready to lend her advice or sarcastic comment.
Today, the trio had a serious problem. Their treasure, gold coins, gleaming jewels, and a map to even greater riches had been stolen by the infamous big-bellied pirate, Homie the Hangry. Homie was known for his love of food, his booming laugh, and his unstoppable appetite. He wasn't a cruel pirate, but his hangry nature made him unpredictable and, well, a bit difficult to reason with.
Ghost paced the deck, her boots clunking on the wooden boards. We can't just let him get away with our treasure, Captain. We have to get it back.
Captain Arf, stroking his scruffy, long beard, nodded thoughtfully. Aye, lass, but Homie the Hangry is no ordinary foe. He's got a laugh that can shake the sails and a belly that could swallow us whole. We need a plan.
Lily perched on a barrel, flicked her tail, and spoke in a silky voice. Homie's weakness is his hunger. If we can outsmart him with food, we might just have a chance to retrieve our treasure.
Ghost's eyes lit up with excitement. What if we cook him something so irresistible that he'll trade the treasure for it?
Captain Arf grinned, his gold tooth glinting in the sunlight. Aye, that's the spirit, Ghost. But what could possibly satisfy a belly like Homie's?
Nilly purred, her green eyes gleaming. Leave that to me. I've overheard many a sailor's secret recipe. I know just the thing, a legendary stew said to be so delicious that no pirate can resist it.
With Nilly's guidance, the crew set to work. Ghost chopped vegetables and spices. Captain Arf stirred a bubbling pot, and Nilly added a secret ingredient, one by one. The scent of the stew wafted across the ship, filling the air with a mouth-watering aroma that even made Ghost's stomachs growl.
Once the stew was ready, they sailed towards Homie's ship, the Hungry Leviathan. As they approached, they could hear his booming laugh echoing across the waves. Hardy har har! Nothing like a good meal after a heist.
Ghost gritted her teeth. We'll see about that, Homie!
Captain Arf took the wheel, guiding the sea serpent alongside the Hungry Leviathan. With a quick toss, Ghost launched a grappling hook onto the other ships, securing their vessel.
Homie the Hangry! Captain Arf called out, his voice carrying over the water. We've come to make a deal.
Homie, with his round belly and a grin as wide as the horizon, leaned over the railing, laughing. A deal? With me? You must be desperate, Captain Arf. Hardy har har.
Ghost stepped forward, holding up a steaming bowl of the legendary stew. We've got something you can't resist, Homie. Trade us our treasure for this, and you'll be the happiest pirate on the 7 seas.
Homie's nose twitched as he caught the scent of the stew. His eyes widened, and he licked his lips. That smell! It smells incredible! But how do I know it's worth my treasure?
Nilly, ever the clever cat, sauntered up beside Ghost. Why don't you have a taste, Homie? If it's not the best thing you've ever eaten, you can keep the stew and the treasure. But if it is, well, we'll be taking back our loot.
Homie, unable to resist the temptation, reached out and took the bowl. He scooped a large spoonful into his mouth, and as soon as the stew touched his tongue, his eyes rolled back in delight. This is the best thing I've ever tasted, he exclaimed, laughing so hard his belly jiggled like jelly.
Without a second thought, Homie tossed a sack of treasure across to Captain Arf. Take it! Take it all! Just give me the recipe for this stew.
Captain Arf took the sack, grinning from ear to ear. A deal's a deal, homie. The recipe's all yours.
With their treasure reclaimed, Ghost, Captain Arf, and Nilly sailed away, leaving Homie the Hangry happily slurping down his stew. As the sun set on the horizon, the trio celebrated their victory, knowing they had outwitted one of the most formidable pirates on the seas.
Ghost, still buzzing with excitement, looked at her captain and the wise Nilly. We make a great team, don't we?
Aye, Captain Arf agreed, his voice warm with pride. With a bit of wit, a bit of luck, and a whole lot of heart, there's no treasure we can't reclaim.
Nilly, curling up on the deck with a satisfied purr, added, and maybe next time, we won't need to cook up quite so much trouble.
The three laughed together, their bond stronger than ever as they sailed off into the twilight, ready for whatever adventures awaited them next. The end.
Finally, we will close our journey this evening with a story called
Wildfire's Wacky Spell Battle. In a crooked little cottage at the edge of a dark, twisted forest lived a witch named Wildfire. She wasn't your ordinary witch. Wildfire was known far and wide for her wild spells and even wilder hair, which seemed to crackle with magic all on its own. But as wild as she was, nothing could compare with the antics of Ghost and Homie, the two craziest troublemakers in the entire land.
Ghost, a mischievous young girl with a knack for causing chaos, and Homie, a jolly, lumbering giant who loved nothing more than a good prank, had made it their mission to drive Wildfire absolutely bonkers, and they were succeeding.
One day, after finding her cauldron filled with glitter and her broomstick tied in knots, both clearly the work of Ghost and Homie, Wildfire decided she'd had enough. That's it! She screeched, her eyes glowing with fiery determination. It's time to put an end to their nonsense, once and for all.
Wildfire grabbed her wand, muttering a series of strange incantations under her breath as she stormed out of the cottage, determined to track down the pesky duo.
She found them by the river, where Ghost was trying to see how many frogs she could fit into Homie's oversized boots, while Homie laughed so hard the ground shook. Gotcha now! Wildfire crackled, raising her wand high. Let's see how you like a taste of my magic. She pointed the wand at Ghost and shouted, Hocus pocus, bubble and brew, turn this girl into something new.
But instead of turning Ghost into a toad, as she planned, the spell backfired and turned Ghost's hair into a bright purple and made it stand straight up like a porcupine's quills.
Ghost looked at her reflection in the river and burst out laughing. This is awesome! Thanks, Wildfire! Wildfire's face turned red with frustration. That wasn't supposed to happen, she grumbled. All right, Homie, let's see how you like a spell or two. She waved her wand at Homie, who was now busy trying to catch the frogs hopping around his boots. Abracadabra, zing and zap! Make this ogre take a nap.
But instead of falling asleep, Homie suddenly found himself dancing uncontrollably. His feet shuffled, his arms flailed, and he started doing the cha-cha right there by the riverbank. This is fun, Homie cheered as he twirled around, picking up Ghost and spinning her like a top.
Wildfire groaned. Why won't anything work? Determined to regain control, she tried one last spell. Eye of Newt and Tail of Rat. Make them behave just like that.
But instead of making them behave, the spell caused a giant puff of smoke to explode from her wand. And when it cleared, Wildfire found herself wearing a ridiculous jester's hat, complete with jingling bells.
Ghost and Homie were laughing so hard they could barely breathe. Oh, you're the best, Wildfire! Ghost managed to gasp out between fits of giggles. Wildfire threw her hands up in the air. I give up! You two are impossible!
But as she looked at their happy, laughing faces, Wildfire couldn't help but smile a little herself. Maybe their antics weren't so bad after all.
All right, she sighed, letting her wand drop to her side. I guess I can put up with a little mischief, as long as you don't mess with my cauldron again.
Ghost and Homie grinned. Deal, they said in unison.
And so, the trio spent the rest of the day together, with Wildfire casting silly spells that always seemed to go wrong, and Ghost and Homie causing more chaos than ever. But in the end, it was all in good fun, and Wildfire had to admit that maybe, just maybe, their crazy antics weren't so bad after all.
The end.
The end.
And with that story, we reach the end of our journey to Dreamland. So close your eyes and rest. Dream of the things you love the best. Tomorrow is another quest. But for now, good night. And remember that you are the best.